This video is about my financials for my first 2 years in business, full-time for myself. 2024 was the first year where I was working for myself the majority of the year, but I was still employed at a tree service for about 4 months while I was part-time for myself. Then 2025 last year was the first year I was full-time for myself, and that was the only income that I had. So I just want to say, don't expect too much out of this video, because it's also, like, I wasn't exactly sure if I should talk about this, but I decided to because it's a snapshot of where I am at this point in my business. I don't know finances very well, and that's absolutely going to be reflected in what I'm saying. So I just want to give a broad picture, and there's also a lot of caveats because things are going to differ depending on where you're located and what kind of work is available to you. So first of all, the context is I live in the San Francisco Bay Area in California, a very wealthy place. But just to give you some numbers, so you can do more of an apple to apple comparison with your area, median income for my county is $125,000 per year. I don't know what family size that is. The poverty line for 2 adults and 2 kids is $43,000 a year. If you wanted to rent a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home, that would cost you at least $3,000 per month in my area. And if you want to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, that would cost you at least $600,000. But a tear down, one that you can't live in, is $400,000 a year. Sorry, $400,000 period. The Bay Area has a lot of development. There's a lot of cities too, and every city has their own ordinances and all kinds of regulations to manage the tree canopy. So this is my profit and loss statement that compares 2024, which is this column, with 2025, which is this column. I may or may not discuss some of these things, and you'll understand why shortly. 2024, my gross profit revenue, which is what I charged clients for work that I did, was $121,000. And this year it was $96,000, which is a decrease of 20%. This is the money that I got in my account before anything else was taken out, like taxes and business expenses. Last year, I thought I was gonna make more money because I had this like loose goal to make $150K last year. I thought I was gonna make more money, so I made the decision to convert to a S Corp for tax purposes. I cannot explain what that means, except that I would have saved on self-employment taxes. So that's why there's this different number here. This is the second page of the profit and loss. But here you can see that the total expenses I had, 2024 was $20K. It says $60K for 2025, but that's because it includes that $30,000 payroll. So if you drop that off, it's $28,000. So it's similar enough. So let's come down to this last line here. We started out with $120K thereabouts. And after my expenses for 2024, I'm down to $99,000. For 2025, starting at about $96,000, I'm down to, ignore that, 35. Let's call it $65,000 because of that payroll thing again. And this is my post-expenses pre-tax income. The way my business is set up, it's a single member LLC, and so I have to pay taxes out of my personal account. This sheet is my balance sheet. This is the second page. Don't ask me what a balance sheet is because I can't explain the differences. What is important about this is it shows my taxes. Under personal expenses, I have both federal and state taxes I paid. I will ask you to ignore the numbers that were printed out because I did something along the way. I think in 2024, I was first drawing the money out into my personal account and then paying taxes out of that. And then at some point, I decided to just pay taxes out of my business account, and I just categorize it appropriately. I pulled out these numbers. I believe 2024, I probably paid $13,000 plus in taxes, and then 2025, about $9,000. Here's another number that looks nice. in 2024, I put away $10,000 in my retirement, and then in 2025, I put $17,000. I will say that this is the reason why I was so stressed, because I should not have put that money away. I should have just kept it in my business accounts had I known how much slower business was going to get. The things that aren't in my expenses are the vehicle. I have a car that I use for personal and business expense, so I can't claim it entirely as business. Because it's an old car, my accountant suggested that I track the mileage, so the gas and the car maintenance repair stuff doesn't show up in any of the numbers. At some point, I would like to get a car that's dedicated to business, and that will show up differently in the numbers. The other thing is health insurance. My accountant said if you have subsidized health insurance, meaning let's say you're on your spouse's plan or something like that, then you cannot put that on your business. I get subsidized health insurance through my partner's plan. That was the tree service that I also used to work for, and I pay about $400 a month. If I looked into what it would cost if I got that on the open market, and for a comparable plan, it's about $1,000 per month, if not more. So the numbers again would look different if that were the case, and I probably couldn't coast along in the same way that I did if I had an extra $12,000 bill at the end of the year. So all in all, this, in spite of living in a high cost of living area, I think that is still good money. I have friends that make more than me just working their normal jobs, so they get all the benefits and all of that, but I think that that's good money considering that I don't spend a lot and I wasn't working full time. The potential to make more is there if I'm willing to take on more work. However, there is also the stress component of it, and you just gotta decide if that's worth it or not. I know plenty of other solo consultants my age where they get immediately stressed out if their volume of emails or calls, their new inquiries, if they drop even just a little bit. I don't have that problem, but I would like to keep it as a non-problem by changing some of my behaviors moving forward. There's a lot of areas where I can definitely improve. I want to improve as a service provider, like, responding to actually answering clients' calls and returning voice messages and stuff. I would also like to boost up my emergency fund again. I plan to make more money. My goal for this year is to gross $150,000. To me, I'm not sure that that's attainable, but I'd like to have something more ambitious that's a little bit beyond my capabilities, just to see if I get there. I'm not the kind of person who sets a goal and then works really hard to get there, but I think it's nice when I get closer that it might help me for that final push. I had briefly touched upon my reason for making this video, which is transparency. It's the kind of thing that people who are considering going off onto their own, that's the kind of stuff that they want to know about, and most people aren't going to be honest about it. But to be transparent about the transparency, my income's not that high right now. Moving forward, I think the more I make, the less likely I am to share all those details, because there's certain things I want to keep private about myself that I don't want to just put out there. So this may or may not be the last one. If it's not the last one, then hopefully by the next time I do one next year, I will be more financially savvy so that my accountant isn't disappointed at me. Hopefully he never sees these. And then I just also wanted to have a snapshot and to be transparent or vulnerable in a different way, which is like, a lot of people think that they need to know all these things. They need to have their financial knowledge down. They need to know more about business, all of these things before they start working on their own. And that's not true. You're going to learn, I'm going to learn this stuff along the way. I do have that curiosity, but it's something that is going in parallel with the actual work of doing consulting. I think I don't feel as much pressure to have all of that knowledge down pat, because I have a good accountant who I meet with a couple of times a year. If I have mistakes or issues with my books, he will fix them before they become a major issue. So I think there are professionals out there that can help you. Not having knowledge about everything is not a good reason to not do what you want, just because that's really going to hold you back. Just have enough knowledge to know when you need help, and then have enough money or resources to get that help, so that you don't go 5-10 years down the road and you have this huge nightmare that you have to deal with.